There's a cost in trading that never shows up on your statement. No broker lists it, no platform tracks it, no indicator reveals it. But it's there on every trade you take, quiet, consistent, invisible, and it's draining your account faster than volatility ever could. It starts with something that feels harmless. The need to be right, not profitable, not consistent. Right, because every time you predict the market correctly, your brain rewards you, even if you didn't make money, even if you didn't execute properly. That small internal reward, that chemical hit of "I knew it," it rewires your behavior. You stop trading to grow capital and start trading to confirm your beliefs. And that's where the invisible tax begins. You're getting paid emotionally while losing financially. At first, it's subtle. You enter a trade with a plan. Entry, stop loss, target. Everything is clean, controlled, professional. Then price moves against you, not aggressively, just enough to make you uncomfortable. And in that moment, something shifts. You don't notice it immediately, but you stop asking, "Is this trade still valid?" And you start asking, "How can this still work?" That's the moment the trade stops being analysis and becomes personal. Now your position is no longer just a setup. It's a reflection of your intelligence, your judgment, your ability. So closing it doesn't feel like risk management. It feels like admitting you were wrong. And your brain doesn't like that, not because of money, but because of pride. So it protects you, not your capital, you. And this is where the language changes. You don't say, "This setup failed." You say, "It's just a pullback." You don't say, "My idea is invalid." You say, "This is a healthy correction." You don't say, "I should exit." You say, "They're shaking out weak hands." Listen closely to those words, because that's not analysis anymore. That's defense. You're not reading the market. You're rewriting it. And while you're doing that, the loss grows. Slowly at first, then faster. But by the time it becomes obvious, you're already trapped. Because now it's not just a trade. It's a position you've emotionally invested in, a decision you've defended, a version of yourself you're trying to protect. So you hold, not because it makes sense, but because closing it would hurt. This is the hope cycle. It always follows the same pattern. You enter with logic. You hesitate on the stop. You justify the drawdown. You redefine the trade. You turn a short-term idea into a long-term investment. Nothing about the market changed. Only your story did. And the longer you stay in that trade, the harder it becomes to exit. Because now you're not just protecting a position, you're protecting your pride. Here's the part most traders don't realize. Your brain prioritizes saving face over saving money, because money loss feels external, but being wrong feels personal, immediate, visible. So your brain makes a quiet decision. Let's avoid that feeling. We'll deal with the money later. That's the trade you're actually making. Comfort now, pain later. And in today's market, that delay is expensive because you're no longer trading in a slow environment. You're trading against speed, algorithms, high-frequency systems, rule-based execution. They don't hesitate. They don't justify. They don't care about being right. They cut losses instantly. They flip direction without emotion. They treat every decision as data. While you are negotiating with your ego, by the time you accept you were wrong, the market has already moved. Multiple times. And what felt like giving it more room was actually falling behind. This is the real asymmetry. Not you versus the market, but fast, emotionless execution versus slow, self-protective thinking. And in that gap, your capital disappears. So what's the solution? It's not better analysis. It's not more indicators. It's something much more uncomfortable. Ego liquidation, not confidence, not motivation, but the complete separation of your identity from your trades. Because as long as your self-worth is tied to your P&L, you will interfere. You will hesitate. You will hold when you should exit. Ego sounds like, "I'm a good trader because I win. This trade proves I'm right. If I lose, I failed." But a professional mindset sounds different. This is one data point. This setup either works or it doesn't. My job is execution, not validation. That shift is everything. Because when you remove ego, something interesting happens. A stop loss stops feeling like failure and starts feeling like cost. The cost of doing business, the price of information, the fee you pay to stay in the game. Just like any real business, not every investment works, not every decision pays off, but every controlled loss prevents a larger one. This is how top performers think, not just in trading, everywhere. They don't try to avoid being wrong. They try to be wrong quickly and cheaply because they understand something most don't. Capital is limited. Opportunities are not. If you protect your capital, you can always take the next trade. But if you protect your pride, eventually there is no next trade. So they don't hold and hope. They don't defend ideas. They don't hesitate to exit. They think in sequences. This one didn't work. Next. No emotion, no attachment, just repetition. And that's where the final shift happens. You stop chasing certainty and start operating on probability. Amateurs ask, will this trade work? Professionals ask, does this meet my criteria? That's it, because the outcome doesn't define you. Execution does. A good trade is not one that wins, it's one that follows the plan. A bad trade is not one that loses, it's one that breaks rules. That's how you become consistent, not by winning more, but by behaving the same way every single time. So you build a system, simple, clinical, unemotional. Before every trade, you define entry, stop, risk. You accept the loss before you enter. If you can't accept it, you don't take the trade. Once you're in, there is no decision left. If the stop hits, you're out. No discussion, no adjustment, no story. After the trade, you don't analyze feelings, you log behavior. Did you follow the rules? Yes or no? Then you reset completely. No revenge trading, no overconfidence, no hesitation. Every trade becomes independent, fresh, neutral. This is the zero bias state where your past has no influence on your next decision. Because the moment you carry emotion forward, you're no longer trading the market, you're trading your last experience. And that's how cycles repeat. But when you break that, everything changes. Losses don't shake you. Wins don't inflate you. Execution becomes automatic. And most importantly, you stop paying the invisible tax. Because at the end of the day, the market doesn't care if you're right. It doesn't reward pride. It doesn't respect your opinions. It only rewards one thing, your ability to be wrong without turning it into a story. And the moment you learn to cut a loss, without defending yourself, without explaining it, without feeling diminished, that's the moment your account stops bleeding. Because you didn't just exit a trade. You liquidated the part of you that was keeping you stuck. But here's the part no one tells you. Ego doesn't disappear in one moment. It comes back, quietly, on the next trade and the one after that. It whispers the same things. Just this once. This one is different. You know this is going to work. And if you're not aware, you'll rebuild the same habit that destroyed you without even realizing it. That's why this isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily execution, a constant choice between comfort and clarity. Because every single trade gives you two options: protect your pride or protect your capital. You can't do both. And most traders keep choosing pride, not because they're weak, but because it feels right in the moment. It feels justified. It feels logical. It feels like control. But the market doesn't reward what feels right. It rewards what is consistently executed. So here's the real question you need to ask yourself. Not when you're calm, not when you're watching videos, but in the exact moment your trade turns against you. Who are you trying to protect right now? Your account or your ego? Because in that moment, that single decision is your entire trading career. Not the strategy, not the setup, not the market. That decision. Do you close the trade and take a controlled loss? Or do you hesitate and start the cycle all over again? Because the truth is simple, not easy, but simple. Every blown account is just a series of small decisions where pride was chosen over discipline. And every consistent trader is just someone who got tired of paying that price. So they changed one thing. Not their strategy, not their indicators, themselves. They stopped needing to be right. They stopped explaining losses. They stopped negotiating with their rules. And they became predictable, not in the market, but in their behavior. And that's the real edge, because when your behavior becomes stable, your results eventually follow. So the next time you're in a trade and it starts moving against you and you feel that pressure building, that voice getting louder, that urge to hold, to justify, to wait, pause for 1 second and remember this. You're not in a trade. You're in a test of whether you've actually changed or you're still the same trader with a better strategy. Because strategies don't fail accounts. Ego does. And if you can pass that one test, just one clean exit, no hesitation, no story, no emotional negotiation, you won't just save that trade. You'll start rebuilding everything, not your account, your mindset. And once that changes, the game changes. Because from that point on, you're no longer trading to feel right. You're trading to survive, execute, and grow. And that's when the market stops being a battlefield and starts becoming a business, where losses are expenses, rules are structure, and discipline is what finally pays you. So the next move is yours, not in the market, but in yourself. Protect your pride and watch your account disappear. Or liquidate your ego and finally give yourself a chance to win.